Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2020 Western film The Warrant, a film that is directed by Brent, Christie, and it stars Neal Mcdonough, who is a very recognisable face, and you've seen him in films like Star Trek First Contact and Ravenous, things like that. We also have Casper Van Dien, the ever reliable Casper Van Dien. We have Stephen R. McQueen and Annabelle Gish also making appearances in this film. Now, this is a fairly bog standard Western that focuses on Neal Mcdonough's character, who is a former Civil War hero who is now working as a sheriff, and he has to, with his son, issue a warrant to Casper Van Dien's character, the Saint, who is a former Civil War soldier who served with Neal Mcdonough's character John Breaker. However, he has now gone rogue and he is now a criminal and an outlaw, and he's got a gang of outlaws working with him, and Neal Mcdonough, his son, and a couple of other deputies have to head out and issue this warrant for his arrest. As you can imagine, Casper Van Dien's character the Saint is not one to come quietly. Right, so that's the basic breakdown of the story that we are dealing with here. What are my thoughts on The Warrant? Well, this is a fairly middling Western. It's probably the kindest thing I can say about this film. It's littered with solid performances because they were clever enough to cast veteran actors in the majority of the roles here, recognisable faces who have been around for a long time, who can deliver performances essentially with their eyes closed. And that's what we get here. We get a lot of solid performances by all the lead characters, and it really helps the film. If it wasn't for that, this film, I think, probably would have skyrocketed really down in regards to the ratings, from my perspective anyway. It's their performances and these solid performances that really elevate this film up and make it a certainly watchable Western, because the story in itself is nothing particularly special, and you know that when you watch the film, because it keeps jumping back and forth in regards to the timelines in the film. So it keeps jumping back into the Civil War when all these characters served together during the Civil War, and then it keeps jumping forward to the present. And it got to the point there was a couple of useful scenes in the flashes back to the Civil War. There was a couple of crucial scenes that I think we needed to see, but quite a few of them that we didn't, and it did start to feel like filler for the most part, some of those scenes. So some of them worked, some of them didn't, and they did start to get a little bit tiresome. For a Western as well, I had a problem with it. It didn't feel gritty, it didn't feel realistic. There was no blood, for example, when someone was shot. It felt fake at times when they were shooting at each other. It felt like you were watching a show, you know, like one of these Western shows that you would see, I don't know, on the Universal lot or something like that. So there was no blood, it didn't feel realistic, and some of the outfits some of the characters were wearing looked like they were just bought from a fancy dress cowboy store almost. They just didn't feel genuine and real, and they were too tidy as well, some of them. It just felt, well, we'll give Casper Van Dien character this to wear because it makes him look like a villain. And we can tell who are the sheriffs because they all dress this way and they've got the badges on. It was just a little bit generic and dull, and I'm sure they didn't dress like that in those days. I could be wrong, but it didn't feel gritty and realistic in regards to how it looked. And I don't think the musical score helped. It was cheap and tinny, and I just didn't work for this film. It just lowered the tone of the film. It didn't give it an epic feel, and it needed a more dramatic score at times and something a little bit more reserved. It felt like it was just knocked up on a PC somewhere. I don't know. It just didn't help the film, if I'm honest. So, and essentially as well, it's such a simple story that when they actually get to where they're going to issue this warrant, it kind of turns into a siege situation. And that's it, that's your film at that point. And there's nothing else really to give you beyond that point, it's a siege situation and then it's a shootout, and a little bit underwhelming, if I'm honest. You was hoping for this big confrontation showdown, and you got that to some description, but not to the levels that I was hoping for, is the best way I can describe it, I suppose. So it's one of those films, one of those westerns that I think if you're a real big fan of westerns and you can forgive a lot, there's some stuff here for you to enjoy, particularly the performances. Like I say, they all put in some effort here, especially the two leads, Neal Mcdonough and Casper Van Dien. I thought they particularly stood out. Two veteran actors doing well in this role, but other than that, it's a slightly above average. I'm giving it a 5.5 out of 10. It's not really terrible or anything like that. There are aspects of it that could have done with a bit more budget, like I say, the soundtrack, certainly the effects, and maybe areas of the costume department, but it's a decent enough watch, and certainly worth checking out if you're a fan of westerns. So I hope you enjoyed the review. Thanks for watching. I'll see you back for more reviews on Screen Stars.